Who is Lilith? Why have I been so fascinated and, quite frankly, obsessed with her? And what can she do to your life? How can she help you? What is so good about her? On this briefly introduction of Lilith, I want to quickly tell you a little bit about this very, very misunderstood energy. There are so many myths and legends about Lilith, and it's so interesting because she changed, her stories changed throughout millennia, right? Ever since she was first spoken of many, many millennia ago. And I'm not going to go into the history of it because that's not my expertise, although I have been researching a lot and I've been reading a lot of books about it, and I can definitely recommend if you're interested in it. But I want to focus on one specific story about Lilith, one specific myth that when I heard it for the first time, it actually triggered something very deeply in me. And I'm sure it's going to trigger something in you, especially if you're a woman. But it's not just for women, just to be very, very clear. It exists within all of us. Now, just a quick introduction of how I discovered Lilith. Over a year ago, I started studying karmic astrology, evolutionary astrology. And one of the placements that my teacher really, really focused on was Lilith. There is this point, right? This mathematical thing that happens. I'm not going to explain it, but it's basically seen as the black moon, the dark moon, right? It really is connected with the moon, but with the dark side of the moon, right? And there's so many things I want to say. Let me organize my thoughts. There's this very amazing book called Mysteries of the Dark Moon that talks a lot about how over time we stopped cherishing and admiring the goddess, right? And how we started fearing everything that is connected to the darkness, right? Everything that is dark, we associate with a negative, with a demonic thing, right? And I highly recommend everybody read this book because it just, oh my God, maybe I'm gonna do like a few lies about the book. Might be a good idea. I'll think about it. But just think about it for a second. How does society see everything that is dark? And this goes to everything. How do we see the night? How do we see everything that is connected to hell, right? We see things as black and white, don't we? This is the setup of society nowadays. Now, Lilith is definitely a dark goddess because she was also demonized. She was also judged as a negative, a demonic being for many, many centuries, millennia probably. And she was seen as dangerous, right? If you see movies and series about Lilith that has Lilith, right? They all portray her in a very negative way. Now, on to the story that I like. Whether you believe it happened or not, it doesn't matter. It's a myth, right? And every myth for me, it really holds truth to the consciousness level of the people who created it, right? So once upon a time, you all heard the story of Adam and Eve, right? But what most of you haven't heard is that actually before Eve, Adam had another wife, which was Lilith. So here's how the story goes. God created Adam and Lilith from the same clay as equals. However, Adam didn't want to be equal to Lilith in many, many ways, even sexually. He didn't want to be under Lilith. He always wanted to be in control. And Lilith didn't want it. She didn't want to be controlled. She wanted to be free. So because Adam didn't want her to be free, he didn't want to allow her to be basically who she was expelled from Eden. This is a long story, right? But I'm just summarizing here so you understand. Now, what happened was she was exiled. She chose exile, right? She had two choices here. Either succumb to Adam's wishes or bye-bye. You're going to be expelled from heaven, right? She chose to be exiled, to run away. Now, just from this, how can you, and this is what I think is very important in the myth and the energy of Lilith, how does she represent us in the society we live in? How many times, especially as women, but not only women, but especially as women, how many times do we have to choose between freedom? And by choosing freedom, we have to exile, we have to be, to abandon and be abandoned. And being controlled, suppressing ourselves. I mean, I'm sure you can think of many, many examples in your life and people's lives around you about this rejection, this abandonment, right? Whew. I know, it's heavy, but it's beautiful because what Lilith brings, and if you start Googling Lilith and going on YouTube about Lilith, there's so many things being said about her. And it wasn't like this. Why? This is my opinion. As we evolve collectively, as our consciousness rises, we are able to access other versions, other higher truths, let's say. And Lilith is definitely coming, to this place of reclamation. She's become a symbol of feminists. I'm not a feminist, okay? I have my pet peeves with feminism because I think Lilith is much more than that. I'll talk about this later on. But I want you to just feel this energy, this power of Lilith and what she represents. She represents liberation. She represents self-trust and self-respect and really honoring your truth, your desire, yourself, regardless of the consequences. And if you're in this online space looking for Lilith and you stumbled upon my video, I'm sure you also know about witch trials, right? And you probably believe that you either lived as a witch in previous lifetimes or you were an ancestor. You have an ancestor that lived upon this crazy times, right? So this energy of repression is so vivid in our memories, in our beings, in our bodies, right? Can you feel it? This is so strong for me. Now, why do you want to know all of this, right? What difference does it make? by working with Lilith, what I've been finding is, first, she's going to bring to the surface all the ways in which you were in the same place as she was. That you were controlled, that you were suppressed, and if you chose to be more yourself, if you chose yourself, basically, if you chose to express your truth, how you were rejected, abandoned, judged, right? All those things. So first step is this awareness. We cannot change anything if we're not aware of it. And so she's going to bring this awareness to you. And if you're feeling angry right now, good. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. But then from this anger, and this is where feminism is very different than what I believe to be the highest truth. Because if you take this anger and act from this anger, and from the anger towards men especially, right, you're just going to be recreating the same cycle. We don't change things from the same energy that it was created. I'm going to repeat that. We do not change things from the same energy that it was created. Okay? Now, instead of acting from this anger, I want you to go deeper into this anger. What is beyond the anger? What feelings exist beneath the anger? And as you go on this exploration, what Lilith is going to start showing you is a few things. First, your deepest desires. Ooh, and she's so good at it. Working with the energy of Lilith is impossible that you don't access your deepest desires. And you're going probably to have to let go of any desire that is not really yours, that was kind of placed upon you from society, from your parents, from your husband, whoever. You're going to access your deepest desires, but you're also going to access your deepest shame. Your deepest shame. Now, in order to fully transform this, the only way out is through. Okay, I have other videos on emotional alchemy that you can definitely benefit from watching if you connecting to these energies of shame, of anger, and you're stuck there. That's fine. There are many videos there about emotions and how to actually change them and transform them from a very high place, right? Not from a band-aid. We don't work with band-aid here. We work with going deep and fully transforming, right? But the magic of Lilith, one of many, is that by connecting with your deepest shame, right? These stories of shame, of repression, of rejection, of abandonment, all of those things. And then by connecting with your deepest desires, you're going to start to find your courage. Ooh, feel that. Remember the story. Lilith was brave enough to just go and face the consequences. And there were many. If you go on the story, not only was she demonized, right, by the church and all many, many philosophies, let's say, but she also had to deal with a lot of loss. She had to deal with the loss of her children. There was consequences, many, many consequences. But her truth was so strong, was so big, that she dealt with it. Now, I want to be very, very clear here. We're not going to work from this place of having to sacrifice something. We're not. There is no need to sacrifice ourselves or something anymore. That was then. And now, what Lilith is actually reclaiming is not only her place of leadership, her place of power, her place of strength, but also, and most importantly, is the equality. She doesn't want to get revenge. No, that's not Lilith. If you listen to people saying, or you read people saying that Lilith wants revenge, that's a very low vibration of Lilith. That's not the highest truth. That is not the highest truth of Lilith. Lilith, real Lilith, Dark Goddess Queen Lilith, she doesn't want it. She wants everybody to be in their power. She wants the sacred union between feminine and masculine. Right? She wants us to be able to see both sides of everything, to embrace this duality of everything. Within us, especially. Right? Do you see how powerful this is? This was a brief introduction. There's so much I want to cover. But you see how this is just very transformational, really. Right? Now, I'm going to invite you to, if you're curious about it, because the thing is, as I mentioned, there's a placement in your birth chart, in your astrological birth chart of Lilith, right? If you're curious, you're free to create your own chart online. There are many free websites and see the positioning. It tells a lot. And if you're curious, you can let me know which one is yours and I'll tell you what I know, right? And I believe that each of us have a piece of the puzzle to this reclamation of Lilith, especially if you're called to work with this energy as I do. Right? So let's do this together. There's definitely one other thing that this energy of Lilith really brings me, which is collaboration. Is uniting powers. Right? It's not competition, it's unification. Oh, okay. I think for today, that's enough. Let me know what you loved most about this, about Lilith, about the story, about how it connected to your own story, to your own perspective, or not, right? You don't have to, but if something got triggered there, let me know. Right? It's always interesting to investigate our triggers, both positive and negative, right? And let me know what specifically you would like me to go deeper into from these topics, and I will create more videos about it. Have a beautiful day.